In recent years, California has been ravaged by wildfires. Hundreds of homes have been destroyed and hundreds of lives changed forever. The results of this experiment may help people save houses during wildfires. For the past 2 years, fire scientists have been discussing a new way of protecting homes from the most common way that a house is ignited during a wildfire: embers entering homes. During a wildfire, winds blow embers over the landscape, causing the fire to spread very quickly. These embers will land in and around houses, often igniting them. The purpose of my experiment is to try and find a way to prevent this from happening. The two main questions I am asking is, do plants placed in front of the house affect the number of embers that land around and inside the house, and what arrangements of plants is best to keep houses safe? Hopefully my experiment will be able to save thousands of homes during wildfires. I began my experiment by taking a 94 cm by 170 cm foam board and drawing lines across and down the length of the board, forming a grid. The lines were each 10 cm apart. I then used a pencil to poke holes where each line met. After I had done this, I gathered twigs about the same width as a pencil and Spanish moss to form the leaves of the trees. After I had finished, I set up the grid inside my garage, set up and plugged in the fan at one end of the grid, built the cardboard house and put the tape on either side of the house, and placed the trees in the needed arrangement. Then I began the test. Okay, this is trial 4, trees only, and I have my building and my trees set up on the grid, and I'm going to take my measuring cup, turn the fan on. Wait for it to reach full speed, and we slowly pour the sawdust. Try to be as even as possible. And then immediately turn the fan off after the experiment. Now, I remove this. Quite a bit stuck inside the house, as you can see. Count how many are in the house, and on these pieces of tape, how many pieces of sawdust there are. And then I record my information. So, now we need to clean it off and record our findings. I had 4 major findings in this experiment. However, the most important finding is that having vegetation near the house has a profound effect on the number of embers reaching the house. The control with no vegetation had the most embers of any trial. There were 2 ways that the vegetation blocked embers from getting to the house. They physically caught them in their leaves, and they created dead air pockets where the embers would settle and not be able to blow any farther. The walls of the house also helped keep embers away. The walls would deflect the wind, causing the embers to blow the opposite direction. I collected quite a bit of data for this experiment, and got a good average. I know this because all the graphs have very similar trends. The 2 most important graphs were the inside averages and the overall averages. If you see here, the 2 blue bars, which represent a placement of 2 rows of shrubs near the house and 1 row of trees away from the house, are almost as ineffective as the control, the black bar, with no vegetation. The most effective group of arrangement, which is represented by the red bars, is the random placement of just trees. These did very well in all of the tests. This graph represents all of the other graphs averaged into one. If you notice, the pink bar is also among the most effective arrangements. This was a simulation of an orchard with 3 rows of 4 trees each. This was a very interesting test because there have been theories that having a citrus orchard near your house will help prevent it from burning, mostly because citrus trees are very fire resistant. But now we know that the arrangement of the rows can also potentially help save houses by catching embers. I believe this experiment was very successful to prove that plants are quite helpful to protecting homes from wildfires. The tests in every category were almost all significantly lower than the control. I think if further tests are done and this information is made well known, people can begin to act on further protecting their homes.